right, so we are now recording. Share the screen. All right, so we are now recording. All right, so I'm going to add the link on Brightspace here under replicate. Create a link. Just say code over here. And then there's the link over there. Create. There you have it. All right, so it's now available. Come back to table of contents. All right, and click on code. So all of you have GitHub repo, GitHub accounts, right? So I assume all of you have GitHub accounts. If not, create one. You'll need your GitHub account for this to work. All right, so let's click on this one. All right, these are the Jupyter notebooks. I have about 5 Jupyter notebooks in here. So we're going to talk about what replicate is. So you guys at this point, we've looked at fast AI, Hugging Face. You've played with, kind of researchy type things that you can do projects with. This would be more like a higher level, right? So this is more like professional level. This does cost money. Okay, so obviously it's not something I would have shown you at the beginning of the semester, but as you start to get to that level, it's gonna start costing you money. Now it's not a lot of money. As you will see, we'll do a few things. You can do training for about $3 and of a big model, and then you can do inference at cents on the dollar. So I think like 5 cents to 8 cents per query. Obviously, and I'll show you that it does cost money to do this. Okay, so replicate. Let's go there. Replicate. There we have it. Run AI with an API. So this is the kind of thing that for those of you that are entrepreneurs, right, and you want to start your own company, AI company, and you want me to tell you if I can just pick one thing to do that, what would it be? It would be replicate. Okay, you can build your business around replicate.com. Obviously, what you would need to do is every time that you pay replicate, some customer has paid you first. Do you guys see what I'm saying? So it's got to be that type of approach. You have to develop that website or whatever it is, app. They log in, they pay you for your services related to AI, and then you pay replicate a portion and you keep your profit. Okay, because this is a paid service, but what's great about it, obviously, is that it's reliable. This is, next level, as I said. Make sense? So all the training is going to be in the cloud. All the inference is going to be in the cloud. There is no downloading to your local machine. It'll happen over there. All right, so I already have a GitHub account, so I'm going to log in. So you guys, so here, like I said, we are recording, and I'm going to click on this one. And you click on sign in, and sign in with GitHub. So this is the only way to sign in. Okay. This is, I think it's Pieter Levels. This person, Levels.io, he's from X. That's his X account, Twitter, right? And he is digital nomad, as it's called, but he has created over 20 businesses or so, of which many earn big incomes, right? Nice incomes. And a lot of them are based on AI using replicate.com. Okay, so I'm giving you some information. He's got one on digital nomad cities. So basically where people can work from Thailand or, wherever in the world, and just, and they, the website provides information for those types of people that are digital nomads, right? So that's a website, and he's got another website where you send your pictures, and then it gives you the fashion that you should wear or architecture. So you send your living room, and you say that you want your living room to look Gothic or like a cabin or something, and it modifies, right? So that, you can see it. So these are some of his businesses, and the underlying framework is replicate.com. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what I'm saying. So you can see here in 1 year of working with Replicate, there hasn't been a single breaking change. Things just keep working. They are dev first. So this is important, right? So it's not just some company pretending to be good. They're actually pretty solid and reliable because the whole business of Peter is relying on Replicate in the background. You guys see that? All right, so obviously we can use models for inference and we can also fine tune our models, right? So we have a lot of pre-trained models up here and you can fine tune them for your own case. So today I'm just going to do some inference. I have, however, fine tuned a model, which is the one that I had mentioned that you guys saw last semester. So I'll show you what that is and we'll discuss how to fine tune that in the next lecture next week. All right. So I am here at replicate.com. Did I not? Oh, I haven't clicked on sign in. Sorry about that. Remember, to sign into this, you have to have a GitHub account. So click on sign in. As you can see, this is essentially my recent prediction. So I have several scripts that I'll show you. You can call these scripts obviously from Node.js, from whatever tool you're familiar with, server-side types of tools, PHP, and so on. I'm just going to use Jupyter Notebooks for this one to demo, but because it's not the point to build an app. So you can see I ran the scripts that I'm running today. So all the scripts that I'm running today, I ran essentially this month, and it cost me 25 cents. To run them for inference, I haven't, for training, as I said, a model, the one that I built cost me like $3 to find. And it's just a one-time expense, and then you use it in your business model, but it's a pay-as-you-go type of thing. No monthly fees, none of that, just per inference. Got it? All right, so that's the idea. So there's some nice documentation in Docs, so you can click on that. There are these 4 nodes. So for instance, if you're still looking for a term project, build a business, make it payable. I own 10% of it. But you can do something like this, okay? Obviously, I would ask you to fine tune a model in there or something along those lines. So you have examples here. Run a model from Node.js, run a model from Colab. The example we're going to do next week, which is the one I'll demo today, fine tune an image model. That's a very nice one. Essentially, you can build a model. You give it 10 images of yourself in different positions, like one in front, one from the side, about 10 images. And then you can fine tune that model with just those 10 images. And then you can ask it to render images with your face on it. And they look very nice. So this is, for those of you that can't wait, you can start playing with this. Everything for this one is done like on the web interface, right? So that's how this works. So you do it here in the web. Today, I'm going to demo this one, run a model from Python. So I'm going to start some Jupyter Notebooks, and we're just going to play with the replicate library so that you guys can see the power of it. Keep in mind, for some of these models, they are free, but for other models, it will charge a little bit. So how does it work? So once you have replicate, we're going to need we're using Anaconda, so I'm going to start the Anaconda environment. Okay, so Anaconda 3, Anaconda prompt. All right, so let's do, we're going to need some scripts here. Whoops. Yeah, I'm going to go to desktop. ITS 530. Yes, 530. 2025. Spring. Okay. So then fine tuning. So I'm just going to create a folder in here, mkdir, replicate com.com, and I'm going to cd into it. I'm already in it. CLS, dir. Okay, so now we're going to need an environment. I think I've used Conda 3.9 for this one in the past. Yeah, 3.9. So let's see, Conda environment list. Okay. I have so I'm going to use that one, Pi39 simply. So it's going to be Conda activate Pi39 simply. All right. So I've got the environment here. So now let's start before we start a Jupyter notebook, this is going to be a little bit similar to how we did AI agents. If you remember, especially when we were using small agents, we had to connect to the hub and we needed a token, right? Remember, I'm also using Windows instead of Mac, so there was a difference with the double quotes, right? If you can remind me of that I appreciate it. But let's go ahead and think about it. So what I'm gonna do is I'll delete this later, but so I also have the commands here. Yeah, so there they are. We're gonna need to pip install replicate if it's not available. Then we need to export the replicate API token, and we can find our tokens at this link. Okay, does that make sense? So I'm gonna go ahead and go to API tokens. As you can see, I created this token for this demo. I'll delete this, as soon as the class is over. But essentially, anyone that has this token can use my models, and more importantly, I could lose a lot of money, right? So, like, if a million people use this right now, I could be in serious trouble, right? So please don't. All right, and I'll be deleting this soon. But do you guys understand what I'm saying? Right, by the time I publish this video, it'll be deleted. All right, any questions? All right, so I'm gonna copy this one. Okay, so I've got the token, and then I need to, I clicked on that one. Then I need to, in the terminal, do export replicate API token, and no, it wasn't. Was it set for Windows? Do you guys remember the difference? We had the same issue when we were using small agents. I think it was set, and the token had to be in double quotes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do that. And this is the command there is for Mac. That's how I did it with my Mac. So set replicate API token, right? Token, and then double quotes, and then I'm going to paste my token, and it's in there. Okay, so now that it's there, the next step is just to start the Jupyter, and then we can install replicate if it's not available already. So let's go ahead and do Jupyter notebook. Our notebook. Okay. We're going to start a Jupyter notebook here. All right, so let's do import replicate first to see if if it's available. So it's not available. So we need to install it. So then we're going to go to pip install replicate. And I'm also going to call this in class replicate. Oops. Pip install replicate. Oh, hurry. All right, click run here. Okay, that's kind of the main idea. Okay, so while it's doing that, give it a minute. And then we're going to start playing with the Jupyter notebooks just to see what we can do. So obviously, all right, so successfully installed. So now I'm going to comment this one out, run this one. All right, so that worked fine. And that worked fine. As I said, this tool, if you have, if you don't, if you want to get more information, Peter levels is just that, that's you levels. But I think Pieter is with IE is the name of the person. One of the people that I know that uses this and it runs a successful business. Obviously, because this is in the cloud, because of all of that, it can answer as many queries as are needed. The one thing that you have to, there's basically two things that you have to know. You have to know web development of some kind, client server architecture, right? Build like Node.js, for instance, something PHP. And then you have to have a payments method, right? And you can outsource that, right? So I think there's a website called, what is it? Spine. Can't remember right now, but there are several actually payment gateways that you can use. So you obviously need to have that. Build a functionality. You obviously have your idea, your creative idea, whatever it is related to AI. Let's say that people can load their pictures of their house and the AI is going to recommend the architecture of it. You fine-tuned it for something that only you can do. And then, of course, you need to build a button that people press. Money is transferred based on some logic. Then you need to launch the contact replicate. Replicate creates the files or whatever, and then you transfer them via email or something to the client. So obviously, those are not AI skills. They're more like web development and what all that. But anyway, so let's see how this tool would work. So we have replicate here. So it's very powerful. I have, as I said, 5 scripts that I've made available here, and I'll just go in order. All right. So I'll start with first replicate.com. One thing that might happen here is that some of these servers are off right now. So what that means is when you make a first query, it may timed out sometimes. It depends on the utilization of the servers. So you just, if that happens, just be aware that once you do that, you trigger that server to wake up, and then you just have to give it a little bit of time. And then when you make the query again, it should work fine. So you can use models, pre-trained, fine-tuned models for image generation. So these are generative models, right, for images or text. And I'm sure there's other tools that you can explore. You can go to the website, as I said, which was this one. There's a lot of, guides, community, all that you can explore as far as, learning new things. These are just the get started scripts to get you going, but there's quite a bit of a community for this. All right. So now that we have this, I'm going to start with my first example. Okay. So we've done, so this is going to be a simple example. Let's see here. We'll need pillows. So if I don't have it, we'll need to install it. We've done the import replicate. Okay, and in this first example, we can come back to these scripts in a second, but let's just start. I usually just start with it, a large language model, which will be this one. Okay, so essentially, and then we'll talk about the syntax of this. Copy. All right, so first an LLM, but an LLM that's available via API from the web, right? So this, and these are very powerful LLMs, by the way. So for event in so the syntax is for event in replicate.stream. We specify which model we want. So in this case, it's a Meta Llama 3 with 70 billion parameters, and it's one of those instruct models, like the ones we use for AI agents, Quen, and so on. And then you provide the prompt that you want. So for instance, here I have, what is a power on stall in aviation, right? So let's see if it understands that one. So let's go ahead and run it. And what's that? Did I not do import? Thought I did. Okay. Because I added the, it could be the token. Let's see. Let's try this again. Let me try one of these just to see if I can establish. See, I did import replicate. Let me try an image model. Black Forest Labs. Huh. Billing required status 402. You need to set up billing to run this model. If you have recently set up billing, please. I have a feeling it's the token that's the issue. So wasn't it set, you guys, for Windows? Oh, let me see. Let me look this up. We had addressed this before. Yeah, it should be set. Okay. All right, so I did maybe not double quotes. Okay. And if you guys find the answer, please let me know. Let me start the Jupyter again. Right. No one? You guys, I thought some of you had Windows, and what did you use for the API token? Huh? Didn't use it? You didn't have it. You did have a token for small agents. Okay. So you set it in the Jupyter notebook. Yeah, I remember you did that. Do you have that syntax, how to set it? I swear that in my demo I used Windows. I used the command line, but I don't remember. Yeah. Yeah. And assign the and that worked. Now this thing is like stuck or something. Okay. Code that voice dot environ the bracket get API token and we double quotes API. And that worked. Sure, why this is taking so long. If I go to my dashboard, I'm pretty sure this is. All right. Broke. I'm going to try this again. Okay, so that worked. Let's do a test. Usually I just test with this. Okay, all right. Something. So it tried to run on that model, right? And I gave it a prompt. I don't see an error so far, right? So hopefully that worked. So let's go now to we'll come back to these, but let's try the large language model. So event replicate. So I'm using meta and I'm giving it a prompt. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're back in business. Everyone with me, guys? You saw what I did, set replicate API token. I gave it, and I think I added the double quotes, so it does need the double. This confirms that it's working, given that, I'm using a Meta Llama 3.7b, and I'm prompting it, what is a power on install in aviation, and it's giving me a answer, right? So power on installs can be particularly hazardous because they can occur at a low altitude, and so on. So it is addressing the question. Make sense? So my point is that now you have just in the web through an API, a tool that can let you, even further, right, develop your application. So we had done something like this with AI agents when we contacted ChatGPT, right? So this is so, but so you may ask, so what's the difference? So with ChatGPT, you couldn't train, right? You couldn't fine tune. Whereas here, you can, in fact, fine tune these models. Okay. So that's the additional advantage that you have here is you can set up, more specific systems. Okay. So that was the first example, just to kind of give an introduction and establish connectivity, right? So now let's move to replicate number 2. So that was first. Then I'm going to go to secondreplicate.com. And we're just going to see all the models that we have available out of the box. And then, as I said, next week, we can look at fine-tuning a model, which is one of the ones I'm going to demo. So this is going to be now. And now I need to be able to display images. I'm going to need some additional libraries. All right, so you're going to see the actual sequence. So let's add that in there. So import replicate pill image so that we can process images in URL lib. Okay, there. So there we have it. Then I'm going to bring in this model that Replicate has. This is one of their best models that's available. Is from Black Forest Labs. It's Flux Schnell, it's called. And this is a really nice one for generative AI. Okay, here, for instance, an owl from the future in military gear. So here, let's change it a little. Well, you might want to see this. An owl from the future in military gear, and it should generate the image in an output. And this would be the kind of thing that you can provide to a customer, right? So they provide the prompt, you process it and replicate, and then you make it available to them. Every time that you run this, it might generate a slightly different output. So it downloads the image. And these images will become available in your folder, and then you could potentially send them out. All right. So the last one is to display the image. And there you go, an owl from the future, I guess with the goggles and wearing a military gear, I guess. All right, so I did this also before, and it looked kind of like that. But these are really nice models for generative AI. We've already done the text example, but I can do another one with the same MetaLlama model. Right, so in this case, you can ask it questions. If you remember from like your veterinary assignment last semester, for those of you that took 520, you could have taken that data and fine-tuned this llama model, and now you can build an application, right? So you can build your own vet in the web kind of an application, but here I'm just using it as is. I'm going to go ahead and run it, and you can see it's starting to tell you about veterinary. And this is just its own knowledge. So imagine if you can start fine-tuning it with other data. Does this make sense, guys? All right. So that's an example of it. All right. So we've done that one. Now, it does, so you may also remember from 520 that we covered stable diffusion, right? There are some, so that Schnell one is really good, right? And then it also has like a plain vanilla from Stability AI stable diffusion, and you will see that it's not as great as the Schnell model. So you can see how much those were just base cases, if you will, and they've made serious improvements on them. So I wrote something like a mouse riding a dragon from Game of Thrones. So see, it's processing. Let's give it a minute. It's also a bit slower. And while it's doing that, we can grab additional code. So it ran well. So, okay, great. So we have an image now. And I'm saving them. If you know them, notice I'm saving them as out2.png, given that that may be the best use case, right? You would want to save them on your folder and then have another script that sends them to the client, etc., and make a sale. All right, so that's kind of the theme today. So then we can view it as an image. And I'm going to hit run here. And I guess that looks like a dragon. It's not great. I mean, the dragon looks good, but it didn't really like understand my prompt. If you look at the original one, it's actually like, I guess, Daenerys Targaryen. She does have a bit of a mouse face or something. But yeah, so the point is, the original stable diffusion one produces something like this. That fast Schnell, this one here, look at the quality of the images, Flux Schnell. And that's a very popular one, especially in Replicate. Okay? So let's keep going. Whoops. Jump ahead. All right, so now more examples. Another one, this one again uses Stability AI, but a different model. And this is similar to the Hugging Face repo. You can create your own models, load them up there. So that's also possible, or you can fine tune up there on the web. So the example I did, I fine tuned everything on the web. All right, so that, that's might be tricky, but we'll try to replicate that next week. I recommend if you guys want to follow along and you're willing to pay the $3, get 20 pictures of yourself, like 20 pictures of different angles. And I'll discuss that at the end of today, and then have them available so that you can create your own model. Then it'll just live on replicate.com. And then whenever you want, you can just, So I use this all the time for demos, and it's the same model I trained last year. Whatever. All right, so now let's do another one. So this is going to be a cat. Let's add a few more cells over here. So this is going to be Stability AI, some model. The prompt is a cat as a special forces soldier, right? So let's see what it produces. So it's processing right now. we can generate the image, a PNG. So it finished, which is good. All right, I'm going to hit run. And then I'm just going to print it out. That's output 3. And there it is. So I put a military suit. The original image that I did is, like that. So every time it'll generate something different. But, interesting ideas. All right, so now I'm going to demo the model that I fine-tuned for myself, right? So all of you can create this on your own easily. So let's talk a little bit about it. So as you can see, it's the same format, replicate.run, right? So we're using the library. As you can see, I have my own account, our Calix one. So you'll have this when you create your account on Replicate. And then I created my own model called our Calix Flux. And then it just gives it, like a hash note. That's my model in my environment. Through my token, I can access it. You have a prompt, and then the key thing is you have to use a special word that means you, so that you can describe yourself in these prompts. Like, for instance, here I'm using and it's also a term that is not a normal word, so that way like a username works, right? So I use my username. So our Calix as a master samurai with katanas in Japan, something like that. All right, so I'm gonna copy that one. Let's run it. So this one might actually fail the first time because, given that it's my model, it's not used that much. So it may not be running currently. So let's see. If it times out, you just have to give it a few seconds, and then that machine will be running or spin up and so on. So, all right. So actually, it's running. So that's good. That cost me some money. Okay. So doing that, if you see this is 25 cents, that will go up. So that's what I was saying. This is more business type of a model. But so then I have an image. Go. So you're able to save that PNG or take a screenshot of it or something and process it and send it. Okay, so now we are going to run this one. All right. And this should allow us to display the image. And there you go. That's a good one. And if you look, it makes you better looking, I think, but you can see your own features in the image. So, and they're really great images, obviously capturing the idea of a samurai. I also, well, obviously from my original one, I did that one. And also, so it generates this, right? And the beauty of this is you can always refer to yourself in whatever context that you want, and that's the example that I'm going to do. And the beauty also of it is it can be in lots of angles, right? So it's very interesting. And all you need is about 20 images of yourself to accomplish this. We'll talk about it in a second. All right, so then this is another one just for fun. Let's do a few. All right, so add a few cells here. All right, so in this one, I'm going to this is my own model, fine-tuned model. Our Calix is a Viking invading England with a shield and axe, right? Like Thor or something. So we're going to give it a second to process there. Okay. And then you can, same thing. These are just commands so that you generate the image and then also to view it. View it, see what it does. I've never seen these because obviously it's generating it for the first time. Gave me a beard and everything. All right, so you can see pretty fun. It can be pretty fun. Looks very real sometimes, right? you can, and as I said, you do end up seeing some of, your features. You can see that this one also kind of exciting and, armed and invading England or whatever it is. All right, so yeah, I'll do I think one more. Obviously, if you're doing this, you want to make yourself a cowboy, right? So our Calix, again, remember you refer to yourself. Our Calix is a cowboy in the Old West, right? And so, and most of the time it works. There's a few times where you can see that it's someone else's face, but you just run it again. Now, keep in mind, and I need to show you this, I've been running these, and my 25 cents, I'm pretty sure it's higher now. See, it's gone up to 33 cents. So every time that you do an inference on your model, it's billing you, right? But like I said, I mean, in a business setting, right, you charge others for it. So people would pay you first, and it's really inexpensive to do something like this. Now, probably if you were doing this, let's say people wanted a model like this, they'd have to send you the 20 images. You'd have to train that model for a while. It takes an hour or two, less than that probably, actually. Actually, a lot less. But it's $3 to fine tune. Okay, about. All right, so let's look at this one. So I just ran the code. All right, and okay, so that ran. So now we want to view that one. Oh, we're going to generate the image, of course, that you would send to your clients. And this is not it. There's a lot of other interesting things that we are going to play with, as you will see in a second. All right, so that's done. And then now we want to view the image. And there you go. As you can see, it has your features. You can definitely say, oh yeah, that makes you probably better. And yeah, it looks like a cowboy in the Old West. And so on. Okay, so you can see that I was able to generate a lot of things, um, you know, by create so that you create the model for you, of course. It'd be nice if you could build a model differently, but for now, the state of the art is this one. This was the original image. There's another cowboy image, as you can see that it can generate. All right, so this is all right, fine tuning for your own. So something that you can definitely do, and we'll play with. You can start now if you'd like, but we'll play with this next week when we meet again. All right, now let's take a look at other features that are interesting. I'm going to do third replicate. I have about 5 of these, as I said. This one, oh yeah, I of course have always wanted to be a professor in the 1940s, but actually something very interesting happen with this one. So you can see our Calix, my same model, is a professor in the 1940s wearing a suit with vest and lectures in a great hall, right? So, the dream, right? So I'm going to hit run. And I'll show you a common theme with a lot of these. So let's run this. Okay. And I'm going to run this image. All right. So there I'm lecturing in a great hall. But the one thing that's really interesting about this is when I saw this picture and when I saw this picture, the first thing I said is, I really like that outfit. So I got myself that jacket and blazer. So why is that funny? Because that becomes a business that suggests clothes for you to buy, right? So you can almost see yourself in a set of clothes, a style. And I'm sure these exist already. I'm sure there's a company out there that says, imagine yourself in this fashion. And then, okay, I was literally able to find this vest, this coat, that tie. And so you could suggest it, and then there's the link, and you click on it and buy it and make even more money. You see that? So these are so this is a nice example of the opportunities of generative AI, right? So here is an actually very real use case of just rendering you in a specific style or look, and you go for that fashion or whatever. Make sense? And so these are the types of companies that I've seen so far. Fashion, I know the architectural one by Peter Levels and other ones. All right. All right, so great. So that's some examples using my model that was fine-tuned, but there are other options that you can do. One is you can give it an image, you can give the models an image, and it tells you what it sees, right? So let's do that one. So this one's kind of hard. So I am essentially lecturing, I think, in the rendered image of myself. If you can see, the output is actually in this variable called res, right? So I ran the model. So you can see I'm doing it in real time. So, and we might try the cowboy one also. Be interesting to see. But every time I run my model, right, the variable, the data is stored in res, and then I just render it. I can use another model, give it res, and it's going to tell me what it sees. So let's go ahead and do that one. And that's another replicate model. I don't remember if that one costs money. So far, I'm at 34 cents. So it went from 33 to, so 1 cent, right? So that inference cost me about a cent if you look, right? So there you go. That you have to do your business cost analysis to figure out if it's but it's definitely solid and cheap. So replicate is a very popular service because of that. All right, so now let's do the other one. So it might just say a man in a suit. So I'm using this one, Andreas Janssen, so someone else in Replicate, another user who created this model. You give it an image as res, right there, and then you give it a prompt. What is in this picture, right? So let's go ahead and run that one. So did it say something? A man giving a speech. There you go. That's not bad. That's not bad, right? A man giving a speech. Probably because it saw the microphone and everything. Yeah. I do notice that it's always giving me the same fashion, but it changed the tie. So that's pretty interesting, right? You can see my tie here was red. All right, here in this one, it just said a man in a suit, but you can see here that's a different tool. Now this one is really nice and really interesting. I didn't have that much time to play with it, but this one is a model for generating music. It's called Music Gen. All right, so let's take a look at this one. This is for music generation. So this is a replicate models Meta. So it's from Facebook, Meta, music generation. It gets this version of the model, and then replicate predictions, create. So it's going to create. So the prompt essentially here is I wanted to create something that sounds like Star Wars, like the Star Wars theme. So it sounds like the Star Wars theme, but with Scottish tones and sounds, right? And you guys can give me one if you'd like. So the way that it works is you run it. Okay, it ran. That's good. I don't know if this one costs money. Let's see. Yeah, it cost about a cent, right? 34 to 35. Now so this is the prediction. It can give us a status, but then we need to be able to run it. All right, so we're gonna take prediction. Let's just run all of these. Prediction status starting. All right, so prediction wait, reload, prediction status. Hopefully it'll say succeeded. All right, there it is. And now I think we should be able to run it with this one. So IPython display audio should give us like a little button menu. All right, hit run. Okay, there it is. So that's the song that it generated. Okay. Does that sound like Star Wars and or Scottish music? I don't know, right? Do you guys want to try something else that you can think of? Nothing? Don't care. All right. Uh, you want me to try something? So what would be, I need to give it a prompt though. So how do you want me to do? Change the Scottish Indian. All right. So it sounds like Star Wars theme, but with Indian. Okay. With Indian, like. It's all Indian. Okay. Hey, why not? With South Indian tones and sounds. All right. Let's see what happens, right? So click on run. All right. So it went through. Okay. And maybe it can generate bigger clips. I don't know, honestly. So these are the kinds of things you can play with, right? If you decide to do a project or something, it's fine. All right, so that should be it, right? So it's kind of there. That says okay. And then it's just not getting the Star Trek, Star Wars. But there you go. So anyway, so something to play with certainly. And it shows you with generative models, but also, because it, as a business model. Mhm. That's true. That's true. So something like sounds like Star Wars theme, but played with what's a distinctive instrument? But played with a flute. Flute. How do you spell flute? All right. Let's see that. Okay, so it's processing it. Okay, finished. Let's see. Is that a flute? Great. So you can see there's quite a bit of functionality there, right? And as I said, a lot of these things, they're just up to your creativity, obviously. You can take pre-trained models, fine-tune them, create your accounts. And then figure out the whole payment scheme, right? Obviously. All right. Question, Evans. Hmm? That it have them. Well, you would I started with a pre-trained model for my thing, right? And then I just fine-tuned it. I'm only charged by the utilization of the GPUs. I think that's how it works with what you agree to, I imagine, when you join Replicate. So if you put things on Replicate, I assume there might be an option that you require that they pay you to use your model. That's a possibility. Yeah, go ahead. Well, keep in mind that I'm not going to pre-train a model. Generally speaking, most people are not pre-training their models, so you're using a pre-trained model already, a llama or something else, and then you're just going to fine-tune it. So that if it's fine-tuned, that's the question. They would probably pay, right? Because I am pay every time I use my fine-tuned model, I'm paying, so I would assume they would too. Now, your question is if you take that and fine-tune it, you're probably better off just taking a pre-trained model and fine-tuning it on your problem. Yeah.
Some other models for image generation.
Mhm.
So if we use that one, so it's gonna charge them, or like if suppose I use your model.
Yeah, but you have to have my token. You can't, yeah. Um, Unless I make it public, I think there might be an option where I make it public, but then I'm giving it away, I believe. You know what I mean? You have to look, I don't know the terms of payments here. What I can say is people use this to make money. Entire companies are built on it. So we can look at Peter, I believe his name is Peter Levels. Yeah, Levels IO. Well, that's X. He must have a website. Levels IO, right? So that looks like his website. And these are maybe, I guess I have to go to X. Okay, so these are his companies. So he's got Photo AI, for instance. Yeah, so you have to log in for it, but Interior AI, this is the one I was saying about our architecture. Yeah, you have to log into them, but yeah. But yeah, or no, yeah, here they are. So he's just using this. I don't know exactly how he did it, but you can fine tune your models. You just have to figure it out. Any other questions? Yeah. All right, great. So let's keep going with these. All right, so we did the music one, very interesting, right? Let's see, there's a few more things that we can look, and then I'll show you the one about fine-tuning the model. So this one's very interesting. This takes any image and makes it so you can take an image and then make it like a little GIF type of a thing. So for instance, here we did the music. Now I'm going to create this. This is a little bit more complex, but you can take an image and make it into a small video. So in this case, I'm just grabbing an image from the web of a rocket because it's a really nice example. So this is a rocket, and I'm going to run it. Peter, by the way, is not a coder or an AI person. He's just, he knows how to code web, but don't think that he's some like ninja of programming. He's just somebody that is a business person and learned the hard way, right? So anybody can do this as long as you have the motivation. All right, so let's see. So this takes a little bit longer. It's probably generating a few frames because it is a type of a little video. So let's give it a minute while it does that. And then we should be able to run it. little processing. I've spent, since we started today, I've spent 15 cents. Okay, so not bad. All right, so this is taking a little bit. Let's give it a second. Okay, so this one failed. It may have timed out. Or did I? That's strange. Try to. So this uses stable diffusion, specific version of it. It's not liking that. Let me comment this out. Might be a Linux thing, Linux Mac thing. All right. Windows. Shoot. Okay. All right, so it finished. Let's see if it renders. There it is. So this is the image of a rocket. So it started with the image and then it makes it into like a short clip. So which is very interesting. I mean, and see it does that. That's actually AI generated. That effect of the rocket moving. Okay. We can do a few more. All right. So this one is actually my image um, of me as a professor, I think. So I'm giving it res. So if you look over there, um, the variable I'm passing to it is res, which if you remember, that should be this image. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna take that image and try to make it into a very short clip, a video. So it's terrible sometimes, but let's see what happens. So when I did this originally, actually I have that. It's kind of eerie. Let's take a look over here. Should be one of these. I think it was. See, there's an MP4. Is there another one? So it's probably that one then. Working. Download maybe. Oh, let's go to the downloads folder. Downloads. And it should be this MP4 one. There it is. And you can see how it doesn't look. You see this effect sometimes with AI generated things. It's kind of creepy, right? But it's moving. The face is moving, right? So let's see now what it generated. That's the original image. That's the rocket. Oh, okay. Oh, the same error. Sorry. All right, so let's run it. Do you guys remember if this was second or third replicate? No, it was third. Yeah. Okay, we just then we run this. Okay, so it finished this time. Now let's go ahead. There's the video. Okay. So it's going to try to make it into, oh, it even has, I guess the sound doesn't work. Yeah, that's not bad, right? That's actually not bad. Yeah, yeah, but hey, come on. 5 years ago, it's not possible, right? You take your grandma's picture from the 1940s, do this to it, and she comes back to life, right? So anyway, that's a really nice one also that I saw. Very interesting. You can see how people can extend this someday from some images to create a movie, right? Start to fill in. So very interesting. All right. Yeah, that actually I'm really impressed by that. Never seen it be that good. All right, so that was replicate, third replicate. Let's go to fourth replicate. Still have some time. So let's see in the, oh yeah, this is the Wolverine one. So because why not? Right, so let's take a look. So let's do, so if you've ever wanted to see yourself as a superhero, right? So same model that I trained. Our Calix is Wolverine from X-Men in plain clothes with claws extended. That one. Finish, which is good. There's outputting the image. Okay, and then generate. All right. Hey, that's actually really I may keep this image. The claws are not great though, but it made it almost not, like a cartoon, I want to say. Another one I did was this one. This one looks more real, uh, but you can play with it as much as you want. All right. And then, yeah, that's kind of it as far as nice one. So you can see almost you show it to a person and you entice them, right? Like, give me $5, I'll give this image. All right. So now, I think that was replicate four, if I remember correctly. There's just one more, and then we'll start looking into fine-tuning this. I'll just kind of give a quick overview of it for now, and then we'll do this. We'll pick up here next week. There's a few other things that you can do. All right, so I did this one. So fifth, let me just make sure I don't miss anything. Yeah, so this one, the power on stall. Oh, I did a car driven by an elephant in a spooky forest. So this is a kind of nice one. Um, yeah, the dog one. Just a few more. I'll just, generating more of these. Okay, that's it. I have one more, but I'm not seeing it here, which is you can generate things like a cake with a dedication, right? So happy birthday, Jane, or whatever. But I guess I don't have that one here. All right. So anyway, that's enough for the inference that's available. I'm sure there's more and you guys can explore it. So now let's go back to replicate and let's click on that. Just make sure the cost, so I'm at 57 cents, right? These are the models, as you can see how it works, which models I have used, how long I used them, did the status of it succeed or not, right? So this is things that you will look at. Recently pushed models. So these are my models that I push. Notice that I use H100s, which are extremely powerful GPUs to train this. So how did I train these models? So this will be the topic for next week. We'll try to fine tune one of these in class. Bring, as I said, 10 to 20 images of yourself if you want, of different angles. Let's go over that blog post just so that we have an idea. So it would be this one, fine tune an image model. Okay, fine tune an image model. So you can see essentially this is what we're going to do. And everything is going to be on the web for this example. So it's a lot of it is, selecting boxes and things like that. So this is kind of what they're suggesting. You take a few images of yourself so you can see this person is at an angle here. They're kind of in another way here. So yeah, so these are the instructions. Oh, there it is, more specifically. So we're gonna just talk about it briefly in the last 5 minutes that we have today, and then kind of be ready for next week. All right, so you can see here, prereq, step 0. Here's what you will need to get started. A replicate account. So if you want to do this, you'll need a replicate account, a handful of training images, $2 to $3, right? So it will cost you about $3 if you choose to do this. So you're going to gather your training images. You'll need a few images of yourself to get started. These should be high quality images of your face taken from various angles and in different lighting conditions. You can fine tune flux such as with as few as 2 training images. For the best results, you'll want to use at least 10 images or more. And the more images, I think, the more expensive. It might be that's why it's 3 to 5. So I would say, I think I used 7 images actually, and it was pretty good. Okay. But just collect some images you have. In theory, you'll get continually better results as you include more images in the training set, but the training process can take longer the more images you add. Okay. Consider the following when gathering your training images. All these formats are supported. Use 1024 by 1024 or high resolution if possible, which most iPhone pictures will probably be that. File names don't matter. Name your files whatever you like. Aspect ratio doesn't matter. Images can be square, landscape, portrait, etc. 10 images is a good minimum, and you can see here is an example. See from the side, from kind of with an angle, from the front. This is like a passport photo, looking up, down, and that's about it. Does that make sense? So that's all you will need, plus the account. So once you gather your images, put them in a zip file, assuming you put them all in a folder called data, run this command to generate a file called data.zip, right? And you would generate that file. Got it? All right. And then you will upload it somewhere, and that's essentially how it's going to work. So we will need to choose a unique trigger word like the one I use, our Calix, to refer to ourselves. We'll need to create and train a model. So we'll probably select a flux for this one. And then we'll just go through the web interface. You use your account, select if you want your model to be public, private, all of that. Stand up and stretch, right? So the training process is pretty fast, but it'll take a few minutes. If you're using 10 images and 1,000 steps, it will take approximately 20 minutes, so we should be able to do it in class next Wednesday. All right, and then generate images on the web, right? So we can have that functionality, but obviously what you will want to do is what I did, deploy it, right? And then with a token, yeah, and you know the API, get the images, generate images using the API, and then there's the obviously I've given you the code. So. And then I've taught you this trick before. You can use language models to write better prompts, right? So you can write a prompt and ask it to generate an even better prompt. So it's more descriptive. As you know, common theme in this class has been about the prompts and how important they are. Have fun and iterate, and that's it. So we will do this next week. There's a few other things that we can do. There's obviously also the possibility of fine-tuning a large language model, so your vet data. So you know that I've left the term project very open-ended, right? So if you want to use this in combination with your project, etc., feel free to try it as a tool. I know it costs a little bit of money, so you know, there's that to consider. Any questions about Replicate? So that kind of is what I wanted to do today as far as the show this tool. Yeah. Yes, sir.
They use like 405 billion parameters, but the one that you used was like 70.
Was it really?
Yeah.
No, I think you're looking at another
Llama.
one. Mine didn't for the images or for Llama. Oh, okay. Yeah, here they're using a 405 billion parameter. Yes.
So like he did some way like you get the 70 billion fast.
Well, 70 billion is less parameters than 405 billion. So a 405 billion parameter model is in theory better than a 70 billion parameter model. If it takes more GPU, I'm pretty sure it will. Because their business model is a lot based on just GPU utilization. Got it? You know, if it's using an H100 versus I would imagine it costs more. That's like state of the art type of a GPU card. Any other questions? All right, so that concludes our discussion of Replicate today.